Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Michael Davis, Mira Scriptura from mirascriptura.com. Today, I just wanted to talk about mirror reading and how it fits in with kind of overall structure of how to interpret the Bible. So I'm just going to go over this part of this presentation that I have here on biblical interpretation. So here we have eisegesis. I'm not really going to talk about that today, but you want to avoid this. This is reading your own meaning into the text. You want to move towards exegesis, which is deriving the meaning out of the text. So eisegesis, you have things like proof texting. That may be a term some people have heard of. Exegesis, you have different methods. One is probably the most popular in evangelical Christianity, called the historical-grammatical approach. And then there's the allegorical approach, which is allegorical is more of a hidden meaning, metaphor, symbolic interpretation, which I actually do believe that's a legit interpretation. The problem is there's just really no way to verify if your allegorical interpretation is correct. And then there's actually a third category over here I invented called pneumagesis. I didn't invent it, I guess I just came up with a term for it. Pneumagesis, which is more you find in charismatic circles. It's kind of a cross between allegorical and eisegesis, but I'm not going to go into that today. Not going to go into eisegesis today. Going to focus on exegesis and historical grammatical, because I think mirror reading falls kind of as a subcategory of that. So what is, let's see if we can go full screen here. What is historical grammatical method? Well, you're really trying to get to the author's original intent. Like, what was he trying to communicate to the original readers? And so we do that by looking at the context. So it's all about context. That's how you verify whether your interpretation is correct or not. And there's kind of the big four different types of context. You have grammatical context, so it's the surrounding paragraphs, sentences, taking the chapter as a whole, taking the book as a whole. All of that, you want to have kind of a bigger picture view. You have genre, you have cultural context, and you have historical context. So genre, apocalyptic literature like Daniel or the Book of Revelation, those books you're not going to take literally, because by its very nature, they're more symbolic in nature. So you're not going to read things so literally. Cultural context. Here's a good example here. Romans 16:16. Greet one another with a holy kiss. Obviously, we don't do that today. Holy kisses, or kissing in the Middle Eastern culture, is more typical to their culture, not so much to ours. And so it doesn't really, those things, we don't really take those things as things that we need to do. It's more like greet one another with a holy handshake or something. So cultural and historical context, they kind of overlap. They can kind of be one and the same. But historical, an example of historical treatise is that, or example of historical context is this Hittite treatise, where the Hittite treaties were divided into 6 parts: preamble, historical prologue, terms of treaty, blessing and curses, gods as witnesses, and how the treaty should be preserved and ratified by later generations. So that comes into effect because Deuteronomy has the same structure. It's a little bit different because there's only one God, as opposed to the other nations' multiple gods. So we can gain insight into the biblical text through these different, take a look at these different contexts. And then it gets into allegorical. I'm not going to go into that today. But just to say, I think that mere reading falls under the category as kind of like a type of context. So you'd have historical context and cultural context. You would have a mere reading context. Maybe you might call it a situational context. What was happening? And so when Paul wrote his letter, what was the situation at the time when he wrote it to Ephesus or when he wrote it to Philippi? What was happening? What was being said? And how do you know what that context is? Well, you have to mere read it. You have to reflect it from what's said to understand the other side of the conversation. So I think that's it for today. Thanks for watching, and I hope you watch more in the future. Thanks.